I see people jumping on. Hello, everyone. Hey.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone who's joining. Please drop a comment and say hello. We'll give it a minute or two for a few more people to jump on. Thank you for sharing your lunch hour with us. I've got my phone here too, just in case, because you know there's always technology that's lots of fun.
Always.
Hello, Kathy. Yay, people can see us. Yay, we can see the comments. That's awesome. Hello, hello. All right. Well, we are here today. It's Tuesday. It's not so hot out, but looks like the rain clouds are overhead here in Ontario. You're probably pretty hot down there in Atlanta, aren't you, Libby?
Yeah. Hot and steamy.
Hot and steamy. Well, that is the theme for August. So let's jump right in. I think we've got a few people joining us live. So hello. I think most of you know who I am, but the lovely lady who is joining me this direction here is the lovely Libby Hickson from Hero Arts. She did a lunch and learn or a craft along with us back in March for my birthday celebration. And now as part of our anniversary, we love to have parties around here. So now for our anniversary, she is joining us today to give us the ins and outs and a wonderful demonstration on the Hero Hues Reactive Inks. I'll let her explain what those are all about. She'll probably do a way much better job than I did. But get ready for an awesome hour, 45 minutes, however long it is to create some wonderful projects with us. Libby's going to take us through all the things. But before I turn the camera over to her, let me give you a little surprise. We have some prizes to give away as well. So because it's our 5th anniversary, we're going to be giving away 5 stamp sets to all of you, well, not all of you, to 5 of you who are joining here live. So make sure you comment lots. Comment on your favorite color. Comment on the techniques that Libby is showing us. Comment on your favorite Hero Arts stamps. And at the end of this live, I will go back and I will pick 5 winners. And 5 of you will get this amazing, sorry, I'm getting my camera mixed up here, poinsettia stamp that was from the early part of the Hero holiday release. So make sure you comment lots. I am going to watch all these comments here and pick some winners, but the real winners are all of us because Libby's going to take us through some awesome techniques. And if you don't have the Hero Arts Reactive Inks, you guys are going to want to get them. They are so bright and colorful and fun to work with. And I know Libby's going to teach us some great stuff. So Libby, I'm going to mute myself and I will let you take it away.
All right. Thank you, Sherry. Thanks for that great introduction. I'm going to go ahead and make my desktop the large screen here so everybody can see really well what I'm doing. All right. So thank you guys for being here. And I see Mindy Egan is on our creative team at Hero Arts. Thanks for being here, Mindy, and hello to everybody else. And so I'm going to talk today about our reactive inks from Hero Arts. And if you haven't tried them yet, as Sherry said, they're super fun to play with. One of them was upside down, I just noticed. They come in a rainbow of colors. Now these inks are great for ink blending because they go on like butter. They're so smooth and nice. They're great for stamping. They're great for doing fun techniques on backgrounds, like doing, they're water reactive. That's why we call them reactive inks. So you can add some water splashes. I'm going to watercolor with them today. So there's so many things you can do with them. So I am going to be using some of our stamps in just a bit, but I thought I would start out by doing some backgrounds with these inks so that you can see kind of how they work. So I am going to be using pumpkins later. And so I'm going to make a background that has purple. I thought that would go nice with my orange pumpkin. So I'm going to get out the purple inks here. And there are several different purples. And I'm going to take some cardstock. Let me see where I put it here on my messy desk.
For those of you who don't know Libby, purple is her favorite color, just like Darlene's. So it's no surprise that she's using purple to start off.
Very true. All right, here's my cardstock. I managed to bury it in the few minutes that I was here. And let me just clean this off real quick. I was doing some embossing, so I have a little bit of embossing powder on here. Okay, so what I'm going to start out by doing is just showing you ink blending with these inks. So I'm going to grab some blending brushes and a little craft mat. This is just a craft mat that I cut smaller. I like to blend on it just because the ink moves better from the edge onto the paper. But you could also use a glass mat, or you could just do it on paper. But then when you do it on paper, you lose a little bit of your ink on the paper itself. But if you don't mind that, then it's perfectly fine. And I'm going to start out, I'm just going to do a couple different colors of purple on this. I'm going to use our Purple Galaxy first, which is the darkest of the purples. Actually, let me just show you. I'm just going to grab some scratch paper and do a little, I should have brought my little swatches over here, but this is what this purple looks like. Really gorgeous purple. Then we have Grape Slush and Thistle. So those are my purples. Aren't they lovely? So I think I'm going to just use the Purple Galaxy and the Thistle today for my blend. I'm going to take my little blending brush. I'm sure a lot of you who are watching have done ink blending before. I'm just getting some on my brush. I start off the paper and then blend it on. And now this can be a process as you go back and forth and try to build up your ink. You can make it as light as you want or as deep in color as you want. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to try to get some depth on this, but I don't want to keep you forever watching me ink blend. We have lots of things to show today. But once I get some ink on here, I'm also going to show you the reactive properties of the ink. And yes, Mindy from our team, like I mentioned, is here, and she's an ink blending whiz. One tip that I love to do also, if you're not wanting to take the patience to color a white piece of cardstock, you can also start with a base that is the color you're going for. Like I could have started with purple cardstock and then just blended on some purple, and that would make it go, you know, a little faster. You could go at the edges to blend it on. Different ways you could do it. I am using a heavier cardstock today. This is a more of a Bristol or mixed media type of cardstock, just because I'm going to do some water technique on it. So I didn't want it to be a paper that would pill, is the only reason I chose that. And I already have an inky finger. So as Sherry mentioned, keep those comments coming because that's how she's going to pick her winners today. So you don't want to miss out on that. All right, now that I have my lovely Purple Galaxy, I'm going to switch to the other end. I'm just going to use the same blending brush. I could take that same scrap paper and maybe get a little of that ink out, but I just use my same brush to go between purples. And now I'm going to go in with Thistle. Get some ink on there. Again, I kind of tap off. The reason I do that is I'm trying not to make a harsh edge on my paper. Managed to get a little string on there, I think from the ink pad. And I also don't like to get my fingers into the ink that I blended. It can leave some fingerprints. So one thing I do is I'll just take a Post-it note or some washi tape or something to put under my fingers to hold it. That's what I'm doing there with that. And yes, I am using one of my Hero Arts blending brushes, which I love. They come in several different sizes. I'm going to be using this size today as well. There are 4 sizes total, and they're really nice. They blend so nicely. Now, the ironic thing about all this blending that I'm showing you, I want to show a nice background, but the image we're using today is going to actually end up covering up a lot of this background. So I could have really focused to my edges today. You know, it's good to keep in mind what your finished card is going to be and maybe save your time in ink, but I like to make this whole background just to show you how I'm doing it. And I do have to be a little careful. I don't know if you noticed, but I was getting a little edge from my Post-it note. I need to make sure I don't get that in the way. I'm going to go back with my other purple now and blend back in the other direction. Yeah, blending on colored cardstock. I think I learned that either from Mindy or somebody else from our creative team at Hero Arts, who they're so brilliant. They come up with all these great tips, but I thought that was so smart because that takes a lot of the work out of it, so to speak. Of course, I also find it just relaxing to sit here and blend, so I don't mind doing that. but I've seen really great blends on blue paper to create a sky without having to, you know, do the whole thing with ink. Just add a little bit of ink on the edges or to give it depth. All right. So now I'm going to take this, now that I have my ink on there. It looks a little splotchy on camera, but I promise it looks more smooth in real life. And then I have a little spray bottle here of water. And what I'm going to do is just take it on my fingers and just drip it on. You could also spritz it directly on, but I like the bigger dots of water that you get when you splash it on like that. Now you can just let it sit and react. Or if you're impatient, you can take a heat tool and dry it. Or I like to just take my towel and dab at it to pick up that water, and you'll see that it makes the ink just disappear, which is really fun.
Libby, as you're going along, maybe you can comment on how Hero, the reactive inks are similar, different, how they compare to like a distress ink.
Well, I don't use distress inks very much, but I would say they're very similar. They have the same kind of reactive properties. From what I hear, I think the reactive inks are somewhere in between maybe a regular distress and a distress oxide. They're not really, you know, how oxide is just so opaque and heavy. It's kind of a little bit less than that, but a little more so than the regular distress, if that makes any sense at all. But
that makes lots of sense. And what I personally find is that the Hero reactive inks stamp, if you're using a stamp set versus ink blending, I find you get a crisper look than with distress ink.
Yes. Yeah, and we're going to stamp with them today as well, so I'll show you that. Reactive inks from Hero are not chalky like oxides, is what Mindy just added, which is, yeah, that's kind of what I meant with the thickness of it, but the chalkiness is a good way to put it. But they stamp beautifully, they blend beautifully. You know, you can do all the things with them. They're fabulous. So that's my fun little background. That could make a really great galaxy actually now too, now that I'm looking at it. So I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm going to do my next background technique, which is going to be more of a ink smooshing, which I'm guessing some of you may have seen before, but I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And again, looking for my cardstock. Now, a couple ways to ink smoosh. I could either put the ink right on my craft mat and take my paper down into it. But this time I'm going to take a piece of acetate that I have. You can kind of see that there's acetate. You can see my lamp reflection in there. And I am going to put the ink right onto that. Just dabbing it down on. Ooh, I'm right in my light, so you can't really see that very well. See that? All right, and then I'm going to spritz that with a little water. You can even just take your finger if you don't mind it getting inky to get rid of some of those lines so you don't have lines transfer onto your project. And then I'm just going to start pushing it down onto my cardstock here and there and everywhere. And you take it and kind of tap it to move it along. And now the key when you're doing a background like this is to have a little patience or to have a heat tool. So I'm going to take my heat tool and dry it as I go. And I'm really going to work at building up some layers. And I'm going to use my other purples as well. Now this is, like I mentioned, I'm using a heavier cardstock. Can you hear me talk while I'm drying this? Just want to make sure before I say too much.
Yep, we can absolutely hear you.
Okay. I want to just dry it in between because I'm going to build up the colors. I'm going to add the different inks as well. I did kind of get more lines on that one than I love, but we'll just keep working at it and it'll all be good. Put a little more ink on there.
Sometimes it's the things you don't plan that turn out the best.
Exactly. That's like you never would ever stop at this point when you're doing ink smushing because you just never know what it's going to turn out in the end. So you have to give it some time and patience. All right, I'm going to do it another round of drying. And then I think I'm going to switch to my next purple ink. And again, I love when I can kind of force the ink to move a little. Lisa, I hope you're right. I hope it does get better and it doesn't just remain messy. But I have faith. I think it'll be fine. And if you just saw, I went ahead and did the back a little as well. That just helps with the warping of the paper. I kind of go back and forth from the top and the back just to help with that. All right. Now I'm going to go in with a next one. I think on this one, I'm going to show you how to do it right on my craft sheet as well. I'm going to do the Purple Galaxy this time. Spritz it here. You have to also get the feel for this of how much water you want to add to it.
And that all just comes with practice and playing and trying out different things. Sure.
That's half the fun. I will do a ink smushing session where I just sit and, try it over and over and over and all the different colors and all the different combinations. It's so fun to see what you end up with. I'm already loving this. I love the splotchiness of it. It's so pretty. And I love these little cubes. They're so handy. When we go to a cabin every now and then, and I like to take them with me so I can just sit and look at the lake and ink blend and ink smush all day long. So. Yes, I agree with Mindy on that. Trial and error, no two look alike. Yes, I agree with that too, Sheila. Yeah, mixed media is my favorite. Totally. All right, I'm going to just wet that to pick up some of that ink that's still there on my sheet, and then I'll do the same with my little acetate that I was using. Just to pick up all those pieces. And I'm going to do this without wetting it, without drying it, I mean. So my brain, you guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, is a little foggy today. I've been under the weather a bit, and I I noticed this morning as I was getting ready that my brain is not firing on all cylinders because I was taking a shower and I put on my conditioner, and then I don't know what I did, but then I put on my conditioner again. I'm like, it's so much conditioner in my hair. And so I got out of the shower, got dressed, and then I flushed the toilet for like no reason at all. So I'm like, what is going on with my brain today? It's like I do the things and then I'm like, what did I just do? So I apologize in advance if I lose my mind a little on this live. My brain is just a little bit in a fog. So yeah, I always love, I just saw Debbie say that try smushing with 2 different colors for sure. I love doing multiple colors. It really builds up the, the depth of it. You just have to be careful of the colors you choose. If you go too much with it, you could end up with like mud or a brown that you didn't intend to end up with. But I'm really loving how this looks right now. And so, you could just keep at it if you wanted to, but I think you guys get the idea. I could try to get more. I love to add, I love to leave a little bit of white space, but if that's too much white space for you, you could really try to be strategic of where you're dipping your cardstock into the ink. And another thing about it is you really want to tap it very lightly. It's hard to see as I'm doing it, the level of mushing I'm doing. But if you guys ever watch Vicki Boutin, who I adore, she likes to say that you kiss it together like you're kissing your grandma, not like kissing somebody like The Rock, which I just think is hilarious. but anyway, yes, it's Purple Rain on my card. I love that too. All right, so there are my 2 different kinds of backgrounds that I created with my purple inks. Really easy and fun to do, and I could just go on and on with that, but I want to keep on going and showing you some other things with these inks. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some blending through a stencil, and we're going to use these great color layering pumpkin bunch stamps and stencils that Sherry has in her store. Now, these are from the Hero Arts Holiday Catalog that is going to not be out in other places until the 24th of this month, but Sherry already has these in her store because she took part in a program we do for our stores, which is really great that they get to have it ahead of time.
I will say that the pumpkin has probably been the most popular. And we've already had to restock. So the restock is now in store. And so if you haven't got this pumpkin already, you're going to want to add it.
And this is what the pumpkin bunch looks like. I just stamped this in some black ink on a piece of paper and cut it out so you could just see what it looks like. Now on the stencils itself, it is a set of 5 stencils that you can layer together to create your pumpkins. And you can see here how it works. There's this layer, this layer. There's 2 different greenery layers. And then if you choose, you don't have to, but if you choose, you could make it into a Halloween scene with this last pumpkin that creates the little faces and the bats and spider webs. And of course, you could strategically do it where you only add the faces and not the background elements. But I just think that's fun that you can have more of a fall, Thanksgiving, fall festival looking pumpkin bunch, or you can really make it look like Halloween. So different ways to do that, spooky or not spooky. All right, so here are my stencils. And you can tell what is up because there's a little Hero Arts logo in one corner, and then there's the stencil SKU number and A, B, C, and D written right on the stencils, and E because there's 5. Here's that cute little face layer. And you could just take that face, mask it off, and use it on other things as well if you wanted to. All right, so the way I like to do this, so there are little registration marks in the corners to make it really, really easy to line up. And what I like to do is I just take a piece of scratch paper. This is just one way. You can do this any way you like, but if you don't want to have to use a bigger piece of cardstock, of your good cardstock than you need as you're doing your layering, I just take some cheap copy paper or some scrap paper, and I use that as my base for doing the ink blending. And I'm going to use this one that I already cut out just because. Oh, I should also mention, you don't have to use it with the stamped image. So let me show you the stamps again. So the stamps line up with the stencil. You can use the stamps by themselves. You can use the stencils by themselves, or you can combine them together and have the outline on the stenciled image, if that makes sense. Let me show you. This is, that image there shows more what it would look like without the black outline. So you can do it either way. Okay. I'm just going to take some temporary adhesive and put it on the back of my little pumpkins and just attach it right to that piece of paper so that it's on a bigger piece of paper without having to use nice cardstock for that, if that makes sense. Then I'm going to line up my first layer, and it's super easy when you already have it stamped to line up where you want it. Just see how easy that comes together. And then I'm going to take a little bit of washi to hold my stencil in place. You could also use a temporary adhesive if you wanted to, something like pixie spray or anything to hold down your stencil. You could use the Make Art Station if you have that for holding your stencils in place. Lots of different ways to do it. You see that's off just a little. Hold on a second here. I was looking at that little piece right there, wasn't quite lined up. So, do all my lines look lined up? Yes. I am making this slightly harder on myself by stamping it first, now that I think about it, because if you, well, either way works. All right, so this is my pumpkin base. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my orange, and I'm going to just do this with 2 coats of orange. That's one thing I love about these layering stencils. You could do this pumpkin in just 2 colors if you wanted to. You could do orange and then orange again on top to darken it. And then you could do green and green on top to darken it. Or you can, do different colors, however you want to do it. If you had a couple colors of orange, you could. I could use the fruit punch to add the next shadow layer of this. So there's lots of options on how you do your inking with your stencil. And I'm just taking my orange here. Yeah, embossing with black powder, I agree, is a great idea. And I'm doing embossing on my next pumpkin example I show you guys, which is going to be watercoloring. I'll show you that in a few minutes. All right, so you can see I went ahead and put some ink on all my corners so that when I add the next pumpkin layer, it will be easy to line it up. Super quick and easy. And now I'm just going to start blending on my orange ink on my pumpkin. And I'm going to be a little lighter with this layer because I'm going to add the next layer to do darker details. And I will show, Sherry just mentioned the coordinating colors and stuff. I'm going to use the different greens when I get to the green part, as well as the brown stem. So I will be using lots of colors in that set. And of course, I loved having all my different purples for the backgrounds that I just did. And when I stencil, I like to go and, I kind of go clockwise and then counterclockwise just to try to make sure I get up to the edges and stuff. That's a pretty big opening there, pretty easy to do. Just brush that off real quick. All right, take off my tape. And I could, like I think someone just said, kind of also selectively within that same layer, do some lighter and darker orange. That's a great tip too. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but that also is a great idea. All right, so there's my next layer. You can see I'm just looking at those little squares, making sure they're all lined up really well. And then putting my next layer on. And you don't even necessarily have to tape it down. I could probably hold that with my hand pretty easily, but the tape just makes me make sure I'm not going to move it. So now do you see what this layer is doing? It's adding some darkness to kind of the lines of the pumpkin. And like I said, I think the fruit punch in here would be a great layer to add right here as well. And if anyone did get here after I started, this will be available for replay. So you can always go back and watch the backgrounds that we created when you have a chance. All right, so there is the next layer. Let's kind of take a peek before I completely take it off. Yes. See that? Is that showing up? I don't want to lift it just yet. Well, I can lift up the whole thing. See how I added that cool shadow around the lines of the pumpkin?
Gives it a nice subtle look.
Yes.
Versus changing color and going a little bit deeper. So you can achieve lots of different things that way.
Exactly. Forgot to wipe that one off, but that's okay. I'll do it later. All right, now we're going to do the solid part of the pumpkin leaves and stems. And on this, I'm going to try to do a little bit of selective stenciling so that I can do a couple different colors on this. So in this set, we have the root beer, we have a nice brown, and then we also have green apple and key lime fizz. I'm going to use all of those. Let's see. Janice is asking if they're refillable. Yes, there are ink refills for these inks. So I'm going to use my lighter green on this layer, and then I'll come in with the darker green on the next. And I probably could have grabbed my smaller blending brushes, oops, to really get in here, but that's okay. I don't care if it overlaps a little bit. It doesn't matter at all. And I just want to remind you, if you did come in a little later, that Sherry is giving away some cute little stamp sets. So make sure your comments are coming so she knows you're here. And we are showing the Hero Arts Reactive Inks through this stencil. Now, one thing, if you were trying to do this and didn't want to overlap where you don't want the ink, you can kind of use a Post-it to mask off some of the areas. Sometimes I just wing it and just go for it and not worry about it. But if you wanted to be more careful, you could use a Post-it, you could use washi tape to kind of cover up areas you don't want to mix the colors on. think that one should have been green, actually. So for these inks, the cubes only come in the sets. There are full-size pads as well, but Sherry is right now just carrying the cubes to see what you guys think of them. But they come in the 4-packs. Makes it easier to carry them that way. Let's see. I want to go back with the... Nah, I'll just do it brown.
If anyone would like the full-size pads, just give me an email at customerservice@craftersworkshop.ca and we can have that conversation. Since these inks are fairly new to us, we wanted to make sure that everybody absolutely fell in love with them, just like we have. And we like the fact that the cubes come in those color-coordinated sets. But once you find your favorites, if you want that bigger surface, then absolutely, let's chat and let's see if we can bring those in for you.
So look at how gorgeous that's coming together. So fun. And now we have that 4th layer. And this is going to add the little veins and stuff to these layers. And for this one, I am going to go ahead and use the darker green this time, the green apple, which before I was using key lime fizz. And then the brown again for the little stem areas. Let's see how that looks now that we got it all done in here. So pretty. See how that all came together.
That looks awesome, Libby.
And now I think I'm going to add the little faces to this layer. This pumpkin, I mean, and then I won't on my next one. So again, you just line it up. I'm not going to add all the little bats and spider webs and stuff because I already have my pumpkin die cut. They wouldn't be on anything except for my background paper. But I'm going to selectively just do the faces. I'm going to use my black ink. It's just a regular black ink. And go ahead and use my blending brush on that as well. I'm sorry, that light is causing such a reflection on that. Let's see. There we go. But again, if you don't want to have it as a Halloween pumpkin, you could certainly skip this face layer and not add it.
You could also, you could also customize your scene too, but maybe only doing one face instead of all 3. So you've got lots of options there.
Yes. And I said I was going to be selective, but I didn't even need to be because if I got some ink through those other images, it doesn't matter. They'd just be on my background paper. No need to mask. Okay, so there is that. Let me take it off and show you what we have here. Ah, so cute. So there is our finished pumpkin. And you can see how easy that was to do all that coloring. So if you're not one who loves to color, the stencils make it so easy to put the ink down. And like we talked about, my shadow there on the pumpkins is very subtle because I did the same tone on tone inking. But if you wanted to add a darker color, you certainly could and make it pop a little bit more You can see like on the green, when we use the two different shades of green, how pretty that ended up. And even the tone on the brown really looked nice as well. Okay, so fun and so easy. So that's one thing you can do with these great pumpkins. I said great pumpkins. I sounded like Charlie Brown. And then I also have one here that I'm going to just hit it. So I did some embossing on this one. And what I like to do on these when I'm using black ink, I like using black embossing powder. But another thing I like to do is stamp with a black pigment ink and then just go over it with clear embossing. And that's actually what I did on this one. And I was doing it right before we started. So I see a couple little spots that are not embossed all the way. So I'm going to do that really quick. And then we're going to use this one to do a little watercoloring. So sorry for the heat gun noise. Just a second here. So when I did this, I already die cut it. So it does come with this die. The stamp set comes with the die to cut out that full image. Just want to make sure you saw that, because sometimes when you just see this on the shelf, you don't realize there's a die hiding behind there. But it does have the matching die. And I'm going to go back to my little layer here, my little craft mat, I mean. And to do the watercoloring, I'm going to use our watercolor brush, which, let's see, I had one in the package here somewhere. This is what it looks like, just a little watercolor brush. So it has the tank in it, what do you want to call it, the barrel where you can put the water. It's right in the brush. And I'm going to use that to do a little watercoloring with these reactive inks. Another way I love to use them. And again, I just put it down on my craft mat. Spritz it with a little water. And then take that to paint with. Now, the reason I did the embossing, I could do this on just regular black stamping as well. But I love the embossing because it acts as a bit of a dam to keep my watercolor from escaping. And I love watercoloring. I know not everybody loves it or thinks they love it. A lot of people haven't tried it when they decide that they don't love it, but I think it's super forgiving, especially when you have something like this where you can make that little dam or whatever you want to call it to keep the water and the paint in place. One of the keys when I watercolor is that I work in sections, especially if I'm using different colors. Like I wouldn't want to go immediately in with the brown or the green while the orange is still wet, if that makes sense, because they would just run together. But I, just like with the backgrounds that we did before, I like to build up my colors. Can you even see what I'm doing? I know I have it like sideways and weird, but so I'll go in and put just some base color down, and then I kind of go back in and add more to darken it up in some areas, like along the top and where the little lines are of the drawing, or where things meet together. And this is another thing where if you think you don't love it, let it dry, add some more color in, and you may find that you're really loving how it comes together. This water, let's see, I'm still using my, oops, see what I did there? I thought I had it all embossed and that just completely smeared. So I must have missed doing that. So we're just going to pretend that that is perfect and there's no smear on that, which maybe you don't even see until I hold it up. But anyway, I am using a heavy paper. This is like a mixed media or a Bristol cardstock. You could also certainly use a watercolor paper. Lots of different ones you can watercolor on. You just don't want to use just a regular cardstock while you're watercoloring. Something that can't take the water. It might pill up too much on you. So I'm going to hit this with my heat tool one more time to try to make sure all my powder is set. Another way that I sometimes watercolor is I'll put it down on my mat, and then I'll make another little bit of water next to it. I just realized I'm not even showing you the aspect of the brush. I could also just drip it out instead of using my little water bottle. So I think there might be some color in this brush, might be part of what I'm experiencing here as well. I use these a lot. There, I just brushed it out onto a towel to make sure there wasn't some old color on there. All right, so this will be more full strength now, since it's not watered down with a spray bottle. Another thing you can do is you can just add some color at one end of it, and then get just a wet brush and come in from the other direction and kind of pull that color down with the water. Can you see what I did with that? I'm gonna hold it up and do it. Oopsie. Well, I just dropped that right in the, not too bad. Okay, so I'm gonna put some paint up here and then kind of just make my brush be just water and come in the other direction with just the water and pull the paint down with that. That's another way I like to watercolor with this, to give it kind of a lighter look. I do that a lot with flowers, Sherry. Like if I'm doing a petal on a flower, I'll take the ink, the reactive ink or what I'm watercoloring with, and make it darker at the center of the flower, and then come in the other way with just water to really pull out that color and make it lighter at the tips. It's a little different with this pumpkin, but it's working for that as well. And since this is that reactive ink, we could come in with just plain water and do some effects on it as well. Right, so I'm going to go at the bottom with some darker color as well. That will help me keep the center a little bit lighter. And again, this is fun. That's why you guys have fun with stuff like this. It's just paper, right? So you can just try it and practice, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. But you know, your investment isn't that big. If you're just trying it for the first time, you can give it a try and see what you get. And if you don't love it, you can get rid of that one and try again. You know, so I think just having fun with it and trying new things is the best part of our hobby, right? So I hope you guys will do that.
The nice thing about this stamp set too is if you didn't like one, you could always fussy cut them apart and make them into individual pumpkins.
Oh, that's a good idea. Especially this front one is, you have all the lines for that one. That's a great idea. Kind of meeting in the center again with this. So I have to decide if I want to make, you know, the back one I did differently, so it looks a little different than the other two, but it's all fun. All right, I'm going to clean up my mat here for a second. If I wanted to, I could have some scrap paper handy, and I could have picked up that ink that was on my mat with another background to make an orange background instead of just putting it on my towel. I'm going to hit this with my heat tool real quick to dry it, and then I'm going to work on the leaves. This is my drying tool. I have a couple of heat tools that I'm using today. When I'm drying, I like to use one that has a bigger area like this one, instead of the more focused ones that I use for embossing. All right, then I'm going to take my green. I'm using the darker of the greens, the green apple. Clean out my brush because I'm sure it has a lot of orange in it, and we could end up with brown where we don't mean to. All right. These brushes, between the brushes and the little cubes of ink, again, I love to take all this with me when I'm on the go, and it's so much fun to be able to sit and color with them. If you don't have a mat with you, you could even use an acrylic block like this. You could just put your ink right on your block if you're somewhere where you don't have a mat, and use that as your little palette for your ink. Works great as well. So I kind of get in the zone with my coloring here. And I'll show you guys in just a second. I have some cards here from our team, so you can see some different looks with the same stamp set. Some people did really unusual colors on their pumpkins, which looks fantastic, like the teal pumpkins and different things. I'm just going again with the water to kind of blend out this leaf to the rest of the leaf. Sometimes it's nice to leave white space. Okay, I'm going to let that color dry, and then I'll go in with the brown on the stem. What type of brush? I'm using a water brush. This is a Hero Arts water brush. So it's really convenient when it has the water right there in the barrel. I'm not sure what Sherry has in her store, but we have this one, and we also have a flat brush. That's the same kind of brush as well, which is great for doing backgrounds and big spaces.
We just got both styles in, so they are now in stock. A little bit earlier in the comments, I put the link in the comments, or you can just search Waterflow.
Waterflow brush. There you go. Okay, I'm going to go back in with some full strength green. And again, when I'm watercoloring like this, I just kind of play with it. I see how it dries and where I think I need to add a little bit more, and just play with the layers. And I just think it's fun. So there's that so far. The way I clean the tip of the water brush, Janice, is I have this towel here, or you can use paper towel, and I just squeeze out some water and kind of just rub it around on there to get the color out. And I am using up a lot of the water. I'd probably have to go refill it soon, but that makes it easy to clean it out. You can also, if you have this brush and you're not wanting to use the water inside, you can just use it as a regular water brush as well. You can just have a little cup of water with you if you find that to be easier, but it's easy to use it like this as well. That made sense. Yes, I love using these inks in all different ways. All right, so here are my two pumpkins now. I'm going to clean this ink up real quick, and I'll show you what we have going on here. So here are our two pumpkins we created. I don't know if it shows across the camera, but they do have a different look to them in person. You know, one's the more watery, watercolored look, and the other's the more stenciled look. I don't think it's coming across on the camera quite as much as it does in person, but you get the idea. Then we have our two backgrounds here. I think this one looks more like a spooky night, so I think that goes with my spooky Halloween face. And then this one is more of the pretty watercolory look one, and I can turn around and see where I'd want that. I think I like it there better. So you can get the idea on that. There are some great messages in this set. There is happy that you can use with Halloween or Thanksgiving. There's thankful for you, and then there's just a thank you. So you can make it the Halloween set if you want to, or there's a lot of more Thanksgiving and thankful type of messages in there. And I do want to just show you stamping with the reactive inks as one last thing, so that you can see that they work well for that as well. Find my stamp set. Oh my goodness, how do I keep losing track of things here? There it is. I have mine in my little storage pocket. And Sherry mentioned that I love purple. It's not really, it looks a little washed out on the camera to me, but I have a light purple as my backing paper in all my stamp organization. And so I think I'm just going to make a little thank you. No, I'm going to make thankful for you for this one, I think. And I have a bit of cardstock. Let me see if it'll even fit on this scrap that I have. I think it will. So I'm going to use this scrap. And I'm not going to use a Misty or a stamp positioning tool, which I may regret. I'm going to do it old school with a block because sometimes you just have to do it that way. Old school stamping. Okay. And I'm going to do it in Purple Galaxy, I think. Yes, Wendy, that's exactly what I do to clean out the brushes. Just squeeze the barrel. Oh, you know, I will say this is the first time I'm using this particular stamp I just pulled out. And so when I do that, when I have a brand new stamp set, I would probably want to rub it with my finger a little to kind of remove anything that might be on the stamp from the manufacturing process. And then I'll just stamp it onto a scrap piece of paper just to kind of get it primed and ready to go. I'm not even on the camera. Sorry about that. Yep, that's looking good now. So on my scratch paper, it's looking good. So now I'll go ahead and do it on my actual piece of cardstock.
I think one of the key things that really attracted me to the Reactive Inks is that it was so multi-purpose that you could use it for stamping as well as all these amazing techniques. So it really gives you a lot of bang for your buck.
Agree completely. There you go. There's my little message. Thankful for you in purple. I often just make my messages black, and I'm trying to branch out more and use some of these pretty colors for my messages. All right, and I'm going to take this and trim it off. I'm going to cut that a little bit bigger to start, because I have to trim along the bottom as well. I didn't want to make it so tiny that I couldn't hold it. Well, I don't know if that even made sense. I'll show you a little trick I like to do with my trimmer when I have something small. Let me see if I can do this real quick, since I said I would. Here's an orange piece of cardstock. Okay, so I like to put a piece of cardstock in here right at the edge. Can you guys see that? I have it lined up with the edge of my trimmer. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this piece of paper that I want to trim right underneath it. And then it makes it easier to see where it's going to cut, if that makes any sense at all. And that helped me get like a nice edge on that.
That's an awesome tip. Thanks, Libby.
I will say, I think I learned that from Jennifer McGuire. I can't take full credit. So that's how my card's going to come together. I want to show you guys one more thing. So I'm not going to necessarily finish these right now, but I will make these final, and well, I'll post them, and then Sherry maybe can repost if she would like to. I don't know if she wants to, but I'll finish up these cards. I can even send you the pictures, Sherry, if you'd like. That's what I'll do.
Perfect. That'd be easy.
But you can see how they're coming together. Fun, fun. So I wanted to also just show you one more thing I like to do with the Reactive Inks, and that is to color on die cuts. And we're going on an hour, so I don't want to keep you guys too much longer here. But I do have this stamp set, which is called Holly Berry's Stamp and Cut Excel, which is a great holiday set with so many useful messages that you can use on all kinds of cards. Holiday cards. Okay. And then it has these really pretty die cuts in here, this holly sprig, and then another little, like more of a mistletoe looking, and then a bow. my words escaped me for a brief second there. And I did already die cut these. And I think I use watercolor paper when I die cut these. But another thing I like to do is to just either ink blend right onto my die cuts or to do what I just did with the watercoloring onto the die cuts. So I'll just do this one to show you. And then I'll show you those card samples and then we'll be wrapped up. So we don't have too much time left. But right on my die cuts, I like to add the reactive inks and just paint it on. Of course, these die cuts, you could absolutely just die cut them out of colored cardstock, which is super easy as well. But sometimes it's fun to give them a watercolor look. We also have maybe like some window dies or, you know, different kinds of dies. Our looking glass dies that I know Sherry has had in store. I love to do watercoloring on those as well. I just die cut them and then use my little water brush to paint on the color. Kind of went one note on that. I need to let it dry a little and add different colors. I'm going to get out my fruit punch and add a little red to those berries. I just really wanted to show you just another way to think of using your inks when you're watercoloring is to do it right onto your die cuts. I think I grabbed a different water brush than I had been using. I'm like, why does this one feel different? It's because it wasn't wet yet. Okay, I should have stopped where I was ahead. I think I didn't clean the green out of this brush very well at all and then went right into my red. So my berries are a little brownish red, but that's okay. All right, so I wanted to show you some other cards made with this set and with the other pumpkins that we were just using. So here is that same, the holly sprig that I just showed. I love, oops, upside down. I love how this is made by Lydia Fiedler on our team, and I love how she colored that background holly and then stamped a message right on top of it. Here's, like I mentioned, the pumpkins done in teal, which is just really cool, really easy. You can imagine just taking one color of ink and putting it all over those pumpkins. Then she added a little bit of dots on there as well. That is by Pam on our team. This one's also by Pam. She did some really funky, fun colored pumpkins. And, you know, we did watercoloring on these, but of course, this great big image is fun to color with whatever you like to color with, whether your markers or your pencils or anything you might have in your stash. But I just love using the reactive inks with them. Here's another one from Lydia, who did her pumpkins all in blue. And you can really see that variation in the from the stencils, adding that blue color on there. Really pretty, but I love the monochromatic look of it. And then this one is from Mindy, who was on the live earlier. I'm not sure if she still is, but she did the cute little Halloween pumpkins. And she used the reactive inks in the purple and the green and the orange to make this really pretty blended background on her pumpkins. So super fun. And then you can see she also did the little bats and the spider webs and stuff. And then some more ideas for that other set that I shared, the Holly Berries Stampin' Cut. There they are, just die cut right out of green cardstock and little enamel dots added for the berries. There's one that is really pretty ink blended with the reactive inks. And she doubled up. She did some plain, you know, she die cut it several times and stacked them together to give it a nice thick look on her card. And then I love, this is more of a watercolor look on this one with those cute little mistletoe looking berries on there. And then here's one where she used some other dyes that we have, but she just used some of those sprigs as little clusters in the background to accent. So you could, you know, think of using things like this behind all kinds of different things you're doing for the holidays. You can combine it with some of the looking glass too. The cute little kitty looking glass or the Christmas tree that I think Sherry's had in the store. So that was everything I was going to show today. It was kind of a whirlwind of things, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will finish up these cards. We've been here for just over an hour, so I'm so thankful that you guys joined today. And let me go ahead and go back to the full screen so Sherry can say hello to you, if you're ready for that, Sherry.
I'm ready. It's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much, Libby. That was such an amazing hour. You packed in so many amazing things. And just looking at the comments and watching people, I think you've inspired lots of us as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks so much for having me. And I hope you guys try out these Reactive Inks because you can do so many things with them and they're just so much fun to play with. So thank you guys.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. We will now close the commenting and I will, once we're off camera, I will go and draw 5 winners for that stamp set. Thank you so much for joining us live. And once again, Libby, I know you're not feeling great today. So thank you for just being you and being awesome and sharing all this great creative and great tips and tricks.
Thanks so much, Sherry. All right. Take care, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.